What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for our Monday Night Raw review for April the 12th, 2021. Well, did you enjoy the 2 nights WrestleMania where we had real fans, real reactions? Could have gone without the CM Punk chants, but still. Well, we're back into the Thunderdome, which is in the Yuengling Center on the campus of Florida Southern, I believe is what they said. And they've changed the Thunderdome because now the screens go all the way to the stage and come off the other side, and the stage looks a little bit different because they are in a smaller arena. So tonight we see Bobby Lashley making his way to the venue. He is fist bumps Grand Metalik and Humberto Carrillo, then gets an autograph to a young woman who is obviously a plant. Matt Riddle comes up on his scooter. He comments on Lashley's big win, congratulating him, even though his lip is busted. He wants to challenge Lashley tonight. Lashley says he went to war with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 37 and be damned if he faces anyone lesser. He came here to address the WWE Universe and celebrate his win, and that's all. Riddle goes on ranting about Lashley's recent comments on being a fighting champion until Lashley shoves him face first into his scooter, then to the ground, says he's going to teach Riddle a lesson tonight. You are a loser, I am a winner, and I will show you the difference. He walks off, pissed off. MVP just looks at Riddle and is like, man, you shouldn't have pissed him off. So, we're in the Yuengling Center in Tampa, Florida, as a virtual crowd, all that bullshit, and we have the fake crowd sounds again. They sound terrible. There is nothing you can do to mimic a live audience. There's just no doing it. The crowd sounds always sound terrible. So there has been a change on commentary with Corey Graves making his way back to Monday Night Raw, Byron Saxton still on there, and the introduction of Adnan Virk from the from MLB Network and a bunch of other things. And I'm just going to be honest here, he did not work. Adnan Virk is not built to be a pro wrestling commentator. It just sounded awful. He's like, when it was Corey Graves and Byron Saxton going back and forth, it felt natural, it felt fine, it felt as it should. But any time Adnan Virk opened his mouth, he just sounded awful. Now, it was his first time. Maybe he was nervous. I mean, debuting on the night after WrestleMania is supposed to be the biggest night of the fucking year for Monday Night Raw. As we know, the night after WrestleMania is usually actually bigger than, it's bigger than any other Raw of the year, because that's usually when you have call-ups, returns, big moments happen usually on Monday Night Raw, the night after WrestleMania. Yeah, he really didn't have that this year, but we'll get to that as we go. So, Adnan Virk is on Raw's commentary. Tom Phillips is apparently on 205 Live duty now, which, okay then. I don't know why you took Tom Phillips away. Samoa Joe, there is no word on what's going on with him. He's still, of course, part of the active roster, apparently. Maybe he goes to SmackDown and joins Michael Cole. There has been no word on what's going on SmackDown. Or maybe Corey Graves is back to doing double duty, which he was doing before the move to Fox. So I don't know what's going on with him yet. But yeah, Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, and Adnan Virk are your commentators for now. Honestly, I'm just going to say this now. I give it a month. And it just gets, they change it up again. I will say that compared to when Dio Madden, who is now Mace, made his commentating debut, at least Adnan Virk wasn't sitting there a ball of nerves and you could hardly hear what he was saying. He just doesn't sound good on the mic. So, we have Bobby Lashley comes out, he takes on Matt Riddle. Before the match starts, he beats the hell out of Matt Riddle. The match starts, they brawl. Matt Riddle tries to do what he can, but ends up in the Hurt Lock anyway after missing a floating bro. And that was that. Now, I have news on why Matt Riddle lost the United States Championship at WrestleMania. What was it, last night or Saturday night? Whenever the hell it was. But there's a reason why he is no longer champion, and honestly, I'm not surprised by this. I'm going back to, when was it? Elimination Chamber? No. Yeah, Elimination Chamber, right? Sheamus reportedly won the United States title at WrestleMania Night 2 because it was the best chance to get the title off of Riddle. Not really. You could have got it off on the next night if you wanted to. Keith Lee was originally supposed to win the title back at the Elimination pay-per-view in February, but Lee was taken off TV for unknown reasons. But it says he's been working to get cleared now. Of course, apparently him and Mia Yim had COVID in between the Elimination Chamber and the last time we've heard anything from him. So that might have been a factor too. We don't really know. But it was said to be working to get cleared, and WWE added John Morrison to the match as his replacement. Matt Riddle ended up winning the title in the Elimination Chamber triple threat match because they had to get the strap off of Lashley so he could win the WWE title for WrestleMania 37, and Morrison was not an option for the title because he was set for a WrestleMania feud against Bad Bunny and Damian Priest with The Miz. Riddle was never supposed to be United States champion, but WWE says that it feels they had no other choice in the triple threat. It was noted on Wrestling Observer that Sheamus winning the title at WrestleMania fixes the issue of WWE having to put the title on Riddle back in February. No idea yet what's going to happen with Sheamus as champion or for Riddle. It's likely the feud will continue at least for a few more weeks going into WrestleMania Backlash. So yes, Matt Riddle was never supposed to be champion. Now, they felt they had no choice because the match at WrestleMania was going to be Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison, and they didn't want to have the United States Championship tied up with John Morrison. Well, I'm thinking to myself, you had a pay-per-view at the Elimination Chamber. You had Chamber, and then you had Fastlane. You could have gave the title to Morrison at that pay-per-view at the Elimination Chamber, had him lose the championship at Fastlane because of Bad Bunny costing him, continuing to set up the match at WrestleMania. Who could he have lost it to? Anybody they wanted to give it to, Sheamus or anybody else. If they didn't want to give Matt Riddle the championship, they didn't have to. They could have done literally anything. How? Could have gave it to Mustafa Ali. I know Vince McMahon sees nothing in Mustafa Ali, which is why when he was added became the leader of Retribution, I knew that group was going absolutely fucking nowhere. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Matt Riddle is supposed to be the White Hart Truth. Goes in, has backstage segments where he talks a bunch of bullshit, says stupid shit that Vince McMahon finds funny, and nobody's supposed to take him seriously, and he's supposed to waste away on the main roster until his contract comes up and he goes somewhere else, or he resigns and is just a waste for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, being Vince McMahon's laughing stock, being a funny guy for Vince McMahon. That's it. That's all he's supposed to be. He's never going to be in the title contention for the world title. The U.S. Championship is probably the only championship he will ever see on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown. It's a shame. The guy is uber talented, but this is the position WWE sees him in. And what else can you say about it? Vince McMahon is the boss, and Vince McMahon will do what he wants, and Matt Riddle being United States Championship material to him is not an option. Matt Riddle eventually be eligible for the WWE Championship. Not an option. Just have to face facts. WWE, Vince McMahon just sees nothing in Riddle, and it's a shame. So Matt Riddle loses to Bobby Lashley. It just shows that WWE never gave a fuck about Matt Riddle, and he should be thanking his lucky stars that he even got to hold a championship for 2 months, because that's all there is to it. It was never going to be anything else. It's just how they are. Vince McMahon, just Vince McMahon. We see Ray Ripley won the Women's Championship against Asuka night 2 of WrestleMania. Kevin Patrick is backstage with the champ now, congratulating her. He asked her about tonight's rematch. She says it's all about being confident in herself, and it was that self-confidence that led her to challenging Asuka on her first night of Raw, for the first night on Raw, and then led to her beating Asuka. She goes on and says that tonight's rematch will prove once and for all to everybody that she is ready for Asuka. And we go back to commercial break. Now, can we go back to what we had on night 1 when we had to have people riff off the cuff? They had to actually do unscripted promos because of a weather delay. Those were nice. Those felt real. Those felt genuine. This felt like she was just reading off a script, and it felt so fucking cringe. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander were taking on the returning Viking Raiders, as Ivar is apparently back from his cervical problem that he had for 7 months. Good on them. And honestly, I wish this match was better than it was. I mean, these 4 guys are 4 uber talented guys. It's great to see the Viking Raiders back. Maybe it's like you put the tag team titles on Omos and AJ Styles. I don't know if you're going to have them be champions for very long. Maybe being the Viking Raiders come back, maybe they build up to a big match later on in which they win the tag team titles, and being honestly, I don't think Omos should ever get pinned in his WWE career. No matter how short or long Omos' career is in WWE, I don't think he should ever be a guy who takes a pinfall. Maybe loses by TQ, maybe loses by counter, but should never take a pinfall, and sure as hell should never submit. So if AJ Styles and Omos are going to lose the tag team titles eventually to the Viking Raiders, if that's the plan, I don't know. They just made their return. AJ has to take the pin on that. No, sad but true. So back and forth match here for a good bit, but Eric gets in control eventually. Cedric tags in, takes over. Ivar finally gets the hot tag and runs wild on Shelton for a big pop. Shelton kicks him and whips him into the corner, but Ivar counters what they see as senton. This leads to, of course, Eric tagging in into Shelton's face in the corner. Rams his partner's back into Shelton's face in the corner. They hit the Thor's hammer on Cedric. 1, 2, 3, and they are your winners. The Viking Raiders return, and if you were hoping that we would have an NXT call-up, maybe another return, maybe Becky Lynch would finally make a return after trolling fans for the last 2 days, I'm sad to say this is the only return that was worth anything, because the only other return we'll talk about in a second, because somebody is very, very, very bitter that they won at WrestleMania. Kevin is backstage with Asuka. She gets hyped up and says WrestleMania was a nightmare, but tonight she's ready for Ray Ripley, and once again will be champion. Asuka walks off and goes back to commercial break. We come back from break, and out comes Vince McMahon's favorite his daughter he never had, Charlotte Flair. And Adnan mentions rumors of Flair being unhappy at WrestleMania 37. She hits the apron, makes a crew member open the ropes. Adnan was falling over himself trying to get over there first, but wasn't in time, because who cares? She takes the mic, and for this entire promo, she bitches, she moans, she whines and complains that she wasn't at WrestleMania, and she doesn't take people's she doesn't take people's opportunities. She is the opportunity. Fuck this shit. Charlotte Flair did not. Here's the thing. Charlotte Flair has been gone for weeks, about a month and a half maybe. COVID for a bit. Apparently was tested negative on pregnancy, and a whole bunch of whatever else. Yes, I feel if Lacey Evans didn't get pregnant going into the Elimination Chamber, Asuka was going to lose the Raw Women's Championship to Lacey Evans. And in a perfect world, it was going to be Charlotte versus Lacey Evans at WrestleMania, with Charlotte Flair winning her 13th championship. Another meaningless title reign, which is coming soon. She says, none of this is my fault. Is it my fault that my dad showed up on Legends Night acting like a fool? No. Was it my fault that Lacey Evans got pregnant when she couldn't kick her ass in the ring? No. None of this is my fault. She even challenged Asuka, and Asuka didn't respond. Well, Asuka was out with a missing tooth because, Shayna Baszler kicked her face in the week before. And, of course, Charlotte Flair, being the inconsiderate piece of shit she is, would challenge a champion when for a fact they're not there. So, you were taken off TV because of COVID and other reasons. Out of your control. Which, whatever. And Rhea Ripley stepped in, challenged Asuka. Asuka accepted. Rhea Ripley won. A new star was born. Out with the old, in with the new. I think that's what we need to do with Charlotte. Out with the old, in with the new. Charlotte has been around on the main roster since 2015, so 6 years. I think it's time to let other women have this spot. You've been here for 6 years on the main roster. It's time for you to go. Goes on about the other women in the locker room. We're glad she wasn't there because they saw an opportunity. And Flair says Ripley is the biggest snake in the locker room. Please. She brings up Asuka getting herself a rematch tonight and says Carmella is a bitch and she is that bitch. She names several female superstars and no one compares to her. She realized the first time since inking her contract 7 years ago after watching WrestleMania from home that she doesn't steal opportunities, she is the opportunity. Says all the delusional fans at home who think she steals opportunities from their favorites, no, she creates them. And then she has the audacity to say this is the new Charlotte and she's not apologizing for being that good. We will bow down to our 13-time women's champion. No more little humble Charlotte. And I'm like, when have you ever been fucking humble? When has Charlotte Flair ever been humble? Please. You grew up as Ric Flair's daughter. You are still Ric Flair's daughter. You will always be the daughter of the Nature Boy. Your talent, your appeal, and everything else will never surpass the career that your father had. I don't care how many meaningless title reigns you get. You could win the championship at Backlash, or Money in the Bank, whatever the fuck they have in July, or at SummerSlam. You could win the title twice in that time between now and SummerSlam, and it's not gonna matter because you are Ric Flair's daughter. You will always be Ric Flair's daughter, and you can't escape that shadow, no matter how hard you try. But you have never been humble. Not on TV. You might be humble backstage. You might be somebody who is thankful that you are here and you're lucky to be here. And the only reason you're here is because of things that I'm not going to mention because it's not something I should say. But you are not humble. You have never been humble. The fact that you would sit there on TV and say no more little humble Charlotte Flair is a load of shit and you know it. She wants everyone to show some respect to what she brought to the industry. She goes on about everything she's given and asks what she's been given in return. And just stands there and is like, exactly. And I'm like, Charlotte? You guys don't hear the crowd noise. We do. You don't. You're standing in an empty arena with a bunch of TV screens around you showing fans who are at home whose reaction you don't fucking hear. So for you to sit there and go, what have I gotten in return? Silent, 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 silent. Exactly. It's fucking stupid. She says, enjoy tonight's title match that I should have been in. Drops the mic in the middle of the ring and poses as her music starts back up. Somebody sounds very bitter. Somebody sounds very selfish. Somebody sounds like they're not happy the fact that they didn't get their way and their good old-fashioned Daddy Warbucks couldn't be there to give her a championship opportunity. Here's the thing. Charlotte Flair should not have been at WrestleMania. The show did not miss WrestleMania her at all. It's just so... It's just so typical Charlotte. She just whines and complains about everything. And did you think she wasn't going to come back and the first thing she was going to do was insert herself? And I'm not the only one who's thinking this. I'm like, she's out here talking like this. This has got to be the time that Becky comes back. This would be perfect. If Becky's music hits and she comes out and starts shit with Charlotte, even though I know we've seen it 1,000 times, but we haven't seen it in over a year and a half, I don't think. It would be just the perfect way to save this fucking show. But no. We had to have this woman go out there, bitch, moan, whine, and complain that she didn't get to have her match at WrestleMania. She didn't get to get her 13th championship yet. She hasn't had the championship in, 2 years now? Charlotte Flair has not been Raw Women's Champion in a good long while. Because I should be wrong, right? Yeah. Because it's been, all of last year was Becky, Asuka, Sasha Banks, Asuka, and I think that was it. Other than of course, the women's tag team titles, Charlotte really hasn't had a championship run since 2016 was the last time Charlotte held this championship, when she won it at Roadblock End of the Line. Of course, she won the SmackDown Women's Championship in that time because, of course, she was the one who Bayley turned heel on. So, yeah. Charlotte Flair, the last time Charlotte Flair held a championship was October 6, 2019. Almost over a year and a half ago, pretty much. Yeah, a year and a half ago when she won the Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell, breaking Bayley's 140-day title reign that should have been one continuous reign, having the championship for well over 500 days. But did WWE do that? No, they had to get Charlotte Flair that 12th token title reign that, honestly, I'm very surprised she hasn't won a championship between October 6th and now. Just really surprised. So you know it's coming. You know damn well that Charlotte Flair will be Raw Women's Champion very, very soon. Because that's just how WWE rolls. You know that Ray Ripley will not be Raw Women's Champion for very long. She's got it now. She might make it to Backlash. And if she makes it past Backlash, I will be surprised. Her title reign should go at least to SummerSlam. But will it? Probably not. Because that's just how WWE likes to roll. She's going to lose the title to Charlotte, so Charlotte can have her 13th title run. Then, of course, Charlotte will lose it to somebody else, probably Ray Ripley, back to Ray Ripley. And then, if Charlotte Flair wins the title between now and SummerSlam, like if she wins it at Backlash or Money in the Bank, she'll lose it a couple days later, and then she'll get a big win at SummerSlam just to make Charlotte get her 14th title reign. And between now and next year, it would not surprise me if Charlotte Flair is a 16-time women's champion between now and December of 2022. Again, I'm really surprised it's been almost 2 years since she's held a championship, but yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So we get Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. This is a rematch for the women's championship from last night. Here's my thing. You have a pay-per-view on May 16th, I think it is, called WrestleMania Backlash. That, of course, is going to be where we're going to get a lot of title runs. We're going to probably get a lot of rematches from WrestleMania. So, why not we have that match there? No, we had to have it tonight. You want to know why? Because Charlotte Flair is back in town, and Charlotte Flair has to have her fucking way. Because Charlotte Flair, that's how Charlotte Flair rolls. She has to have her goddamn way. And if she doesn't have a goddamn way, you know she's going to bitch, moan, whine, and complain about it. Just how WWE likes to go. Charlotte Flair gets what she wants. Charlotte Flair goes into Vince's office. She taps on the door and it's like, Vinny, can I please have a women's championship run? I haven't had one in about 2 years. And Vince is going to be, you're right. We need to get the title back around your waist because that's what everyone wants to see. They want to see Charlotte 9000 be women's champion for a 13th time. As Charlotte said tonight, out with the old, in with the new. You have been Raw Women's Champion and SmackDown Women's Champion and I guess NXT Women's Champion a total of 13 times. And you have a SmackDown Women's title reign in there somewhere. I'm sorry, a women's tag team title reign. A women's tag team title reign. So you've held 14 titles since you've been in WWE, counting NXT. So, why should I care about you winning another championship? Again, Rhea Ripley should hold that women's championship till SummerSlam at the earliest. And hell, maybe Io Shirai comes up. Maybe Io Shirai comes up to Monday Night Raw. And at SummerSlam, we get Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. Hell, maybe this. Maybe we get this Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax thing to finally break away from Nia Jax, and maybe at SummerSlam we get that match, because I do not want Charlotte Flair anywhere near the Raw Women's Championship or even the SmackDown Women's Championship. Just no. So we had the match. It was a really good match. I couldn't really tell if I thought this match was getting good. This match was getting really good. These two were just beating the hell out of each other. And then, of course, Little Miss Bitterness had to come out and beat both of these women up. Charlotte Flair is back one night and already is burying the entire Raw Women's division because it's all about Charlotte. Every time you turn around, it's all about Charlotte. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's always about Charlotte. Charlotte can't keep her nose out of the business of anybody else. She had no business being at WrestleMania. WrestleMania did not miss her. She comes back here tonight and already inserting herself in the Raw Women's Championship. Why? Because it's fucking Charlotte. So we go backstage to Miz and Morrison. They walk up to Maurice. Miz kisses her. Morrison asks, why is she doing here? And Miz says, she is our guest on Miz TV. Miz and Maurice walk off. Morrison says, of course, he knew that. And that is that. So, coming up soon will be Alexa's Playground. And oh yeah, by the way, Miz TV with Maurice. Who gives a shit? Back from break, we see Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler watching a replay of Mandy Rose slipping at WrestleMania 37, watching it over and over and over again, laughing about it. Mandy Rose comes up and says, it's really funny, I can laugh about myself. Baszler heads off, she knows that this, and Jax is like, I got this. So, Jax says, Mandy's like, you know what, I can laugh at myself, it's something that came out of nowhere, but hey, I got back up just like that. So, she slaps Nia Jax, Dana Brooke shows up, they throw her down into a pile of stuff, and Jax gets up seething after they leave. So, we go into Alexa Bliss's Playground. She's swinging on the swing, says, WrestleMania 37 was really fun, but you're probably wondering why I did what I did. Let's talk about this story, about a little girl who was lost until she was rescued by the darkness. The darkness protected her, nurtured her, taught her everything she knew. Then the darkness went away. And may have been when the little girl realized she never needed the darkness in the first place. How did it make her feel when she realized she could do everything on her own? Was the darkness helping her or standing in her way? Why else would she use what she was taught to try and destroy the darkness? While Bliss is talking, we're seeing flashes of various segments from moments from the past several months. She asks if it's true what they say, and is the female species being the deadliest. We may never know, but one thing we know for sure, along the way, she unlocked something really evil. And says, this is my new friend, Lily. We pan over to the other swing. It's a very ugly looking puppet sitting in the swing. It looks like a deranged 5-year-old made it. Says this fun is about to begin. She starts laughing. We get a look. They have a close-up of the puppet. Obviously wasn't where the puppet is at this time because it snarls and bites towards the camera. So now Alexa Bliss is off being, I guess, the new Fiend with her friend Lily. Now, I don't know where we go from here. This, Alexa Bliss, before the whole Randy Orton feud, was the best part of the act for Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt and The Fiend was pretty much a dead act until they paired him with Alexa Bliss. Taking Alexa Bliss away from The Fiend and Bray Wyatt hurts that gimmick, hurts that character, and he's pretty much dead anyway. The Fiend, no one's gonna care about The Fiend. I mean, come the fuck on. So, I guess Bliss is now her own Fiend. I don't know what Lily's going to be. Is Lily going to be her version of the Fiend? So, when she goes out there and wrestles, we're going to see a deranged version of Alexa Bliss, because this thing is ugly as shit. Holy fuck. Warped mind or what? I don't know. We hear from Bray Wyatt later. Miz TV, they come out here, they plug the return of Miz and Mrs. after the show tonight. Don't give a shit. Morrison says it makes sense. He proposes a spin-off series, but They're mainly not interested. Miz Morrison, he's in tonight's episode. He takes credit for making Bad Bunny a superstar. He says the impressive performance would have never happened if it wasn't for his tutelage. Miz shows us some highlights from the match. And saw Bad Bunny and Priest defeat Miz and Morrison. Priest comes out and saves us all from this bullshit and defends Bunny. Miz rants about challenging him to a match. Morrison says he's about to do the same thing. They bicker back and forth until Maurice yells and tells them to stop. And you can fight them. You can both fight him. Priest calls them idiots and says he's fine with a handicap match, heads to the ring, but they wanted to wait till later because they're dressed up in Gucci loafers and suits. So yeah. By the way, I'm chugging down some G Fuel because this PewDiePie edition, because that's the only thing they have at Walmart that's good at like anything. And that is not a paid ad because I do not get sponsored by G Fuel, but yeah, they sell this stuff at Walmart and I actually enjoy it. And Monday Night Raw, every time we get to that third hour, I'm literally sitting here drained. Like, if I literally can see my energy in my body just leaving me as Raw sucks away that energy. They do it every single night, every single week. I'm just sitting here, and you just see the energy in my body, from my body, just leave me and go to Monday Night Raw, which it lacks energy as it is. It sucks it up, and it just disappears. Luckily, I was able to get to Walmart today to get some G Fuel because I knew Raw was going to be a pile of shit. And I had a G Fuel earlier, which is probably not wise to have two of these. But, yeah, I needed something because that first one was wearing off right as Monday Night Raw was coming to an end. So we get the 2-on-1 handicap match, and it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? Miz and Morrison, you don't want to have one guy beat two guys, apparently. Obviously. But you don't want to kill Damian Priest. You have Miz and Morrison win this match, obviously, because it's 2-on-1. But how are you going to have Miz and Morrison beat Damian Priest? Oh, Miz and Morrison, of course, are in their dress clothes. So, it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, and Damian Priest is dominating these two. Of course, Miz tries to go for the Skull Crushing finale. Priest blocks that. He goes and puts him into the... he hits the lights out. He did it on both of them. And Maurice gets up on the stage, on the thing, after, of course... it's called Hit the Lights, not Lights Out, my bad. But, like, Miz's clothes just pretty much fell apart. He rolls up Damian Priest while his feet are on the ropes, in his fucking underwear, while his wife helps him win. And I'm thinking to myself, you needed help to win a 2-on-1 handicap match against Damian Priest. Wow, that's just some bullshit. How to kill a man that you just help put over Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. I guess this is the reward for having Miz lose and get pinned by Bad Bunny at WrestleMania, which he's gone, and I'm pretty sure Bad Bunny will not be coming back anytime soon. And then you get this very funny picture. I will have to say this, because Miz is in his underwear. And he's up on the stage, and Maurice is trying to hide him with her back to him. So he's got his arm around her waist. She's got her hand behind him. And there's a side picture, and you just see the look of Miz. The look of Miz's face. It's fucking priceless. Like, we know that's his wife and everything, but could you be a little more subtle on TV? I mean, come on. And this was posted by WWE, mind you. This picture of Miz in his underwear, holding his woman, looking like he's dry humping her. She looks like a little disgusted. He looks like he's having the time of his life. Wow. Coming from backstage with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, he shows us what Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke did earlier to Jax earlier. Jax asked if the replay was necessary and yells at Patrick for trying to embarrass her, which, oh boy, there's going to be some embarrassment here in a minute. Says Rose and Brooke attacked her to deflect from Rose's WrestleMania blueprint. Says after the beater she and Shayna Baszler give Rose and Brooke tonight, no one will be talking about them. As they walk off. And then we have this match: Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Yeah. So Jax slips into the ring, apparently mocking Mandy Rose. They have this match. It was a sloppy match because the only one in this match who actually has a slick of talent is Shayna Baszler, who is wasting away in this fucking meaningless this tag team that should have lost the tag team titles last night. They could have blamed each other, and then Shayna Baszler could have turned on that Jax, took Jax out, had a match against her at WrestleMania Backlash for whatever for fuck it all, beat her there, and then build herself for a Raw Women's Championship match. Shayna Baszler is being wasted week in and week out, being forced to be tag team partners with Nia Jax. But then the joking continues as Nia Jax tries to get up. Tries to get back into the ring towards at the end of the match. She gets up, starts to get up, and then she slips down and falls to the floor. And of course, you have Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke laughing like two little schoolgirls who just pants the school bully. Or, saw the school, somebody got pants and they're sitting there giggling about it. That pisses Jax off. She gets in the ring. They run away like cowards. Which, by the way, they're supposed to be the baby faces. Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose are supposed to be the baby faces. They're backing up the ramp as if they're the fucking heels. And that's how that ended. Just what in the literal fuck was that? They went, and of course, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler won by countout because they made Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose look like cowards. We see shots from Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Lashley will give an almighty address, quote unquote, later on. No, because we're going to have MVP out here. He says this is an official announcement from the Hurt Business. Champion Bobby Lashley will join us soon, but I'll allow MVP to address the fans first. He says Lashley retained the title at WrestleMania Night 1, and all he wanted to do tonight was celebrate his victory and address the fans, but he was so disrespected, and he decided he didn't want to allow any foolishness. He says Drew is an absolute warrior, one of the most dominant WWE champions he has ever seen. But he took his eye off the target for 1 second, and that's where he messed up. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, that was probably they hurt Drew McIntyre doing that. Drew McIntyre looked like the biggest fucking idiot on Saturday. You have this guy who has looked dominant and has looked great this entire run. A very smart babyface. And all it took was MVP yelling Lashley's name to distract Drew McIntyre. He didn't even say fucking Drew's name. And yet, Drew McIntyre got distracted. I don't understand that. It still boggles my mind that Drew McIntyre got distracted and allowed Bobby Lashley to beat him. MVP tells Drew it's okay to be number 2 when the Almighty is number 1. Drew, he goes on about how Drew gave it his best, but it's over when Lashley applies the Hurt Lock. He wonders how Drew feels today after passing out in the hold, probably not walking around with his head held high. He says if Drew can't handle the pressure of the Hurt Lock, who can? No one, absolutely no one. And out comes Drew McIntyre. Can't let somebody sell a devastating loss, can they? It wouldn't have been a problem having Drew McIntyre just, miss this week. Drew McIntyre got beat. He let his foolishness get in the way, and it cost him the match. He took his eye off the prize for just long enough for for Bobby Lashley to put on the Hurt Lock and to win the match. So why could you not keep him away for 1 fucking week? So, of course, Drew's like, how the hell would you know how I feel? WrestleMania came down to a few things: Claymore, Hurt Lock, and who made the first mistake. And I'm man enough to admit I made the first mistake when I allowed you to distract me. But he makes no excuses. There's not much to do about it. The Hurt Lock, once it's locked in, Drew goes on and says he's not a man on earth can humble him. He's entered the ring. He tells MVP to keep hyping up Lashley, growing his ego. milk that cash cow, make that money, keep kissing that ass, because when he wants Lashley said as big as possible, because eventually when he gets his rematch, and when he connects with that Claymore, he wants Lashley to fall as far as possible and look up at the new WWE champion. MVP says he respects Drew as they face off now. He wants him to Drew, of course, wants him to choose his words wisely. MVP says Drew can agree with that. Nothing around here is given. It's earned. And I'm thinking, well, unless your name is Roman Reigns, Charlotte Flair, John Cena when he was here, Hulk Hogan was here, frickin' Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock when they were here. Yeah, that's like, nothing is given to those who have those stories, like a Kofi Kingston or Drew McIntyre or Bobby Lashley, who had to work their asses off for years to win, to, be the WWE champion, when guys like Roman Reigns is given everything. Charlotte Flair is given 12 title reigns in a 4 or 5 year span. A 4 year span, I'm sorry. Yeah, 12 title reigns in a 4 year span. That's ridiculous. But out comes Braun Strowman, who thinks he should be in line for a title shot because he beat the brakes off of Shane McMahon and threw him off the top of the cage. No. I'm sorry, what? What? You beating Shane McMahon in that awful cage match, you think you deserve a world title shot? No. Hell, beating Shane McMahon shouldn't even grant you a U.S. title shot, for fuck's sake. He talks for a minute, and out comes Randy Orton, who says that he's been distracted by The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, but they have disappeared in his life, so now he can focus on getting the WWE Championship back. Adam Pearce comes out and says, I know where this is going. We're going to have a triple threat match tonight, and the winner goes to the WrestleMania Backlash to take on Bobby Lashley. Gee, I can't wait till WrestleMania SummerSlam, because that's what they want to do. If Vince McMahon had it his way, every pay-per-view would be called WrestleMania, because that's what he wants. WrestleMania has a name to it. Why the fuck would you name the pay-per-view after it WrestleMania Backlash? Just Backlash. We know Backlash means that it's going to be matches from WrestleMania are going to bleed in the Backlash. It happens every single year. Every time there was a Backlash, it seems like that's what they do. So, still to come, New Day versus Elias and Jackson Ryker. But before that, Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre talk to each other backstage. Braun says he knows Drew wants the WWE title rematch, but he's standing in Braun's way of the title, and it means he has a monster-sized ass whooping coming his way. He walks off. And then we see the bullshit with Charlotte Flair earlier in the day. Who gives a shit? So Elias and Jackson Ryker are out here. They're talking about apologizing. He dedicates a special performance to his friend and mentor Shane O'Mac for his unmatched bravery at WrestleMania. He starts to play his guitar. Out comes the New Day. And it just gets cringe every fucking time. The shit that they say, everything's just so cringe with these two. Bunch of stuff. I couldn't deal with it, so I said, fuck this. And waited for them to start fighting. We have a match here. New Day win. Nothing special. Jackson Ryker and Elias are a waste of space. Now, 4 years ago, when Seth Rollins took on Elias for the Intercontinental title, when Rollins was the hottest he could be, I think it was 4 years ago. That was when Elias should have won the Intercontinental title. You remember that? You remember that. WrestleMania, it was right after WrestleMania 34, so that would be 2018 then, I think. Yeah. Remember when that was? You remember when Elias had a chance to be the Intercontinental champion and WWE just dropped the ball? Like, they had what was it? They had Seth Rollins win by cheating. It was 2018 at Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins won by rolling up Elias. And that was the only championship opportunity, I believe, in that year that Elias had. And Elias was like a very over superstar. If you would have gave the title to Elias even for a month, it would have been you struck while the iron was hot. But no, he lost and then just nothing. he became an afterthought for a while, and it's just, everything has just been downhill from there for him. It just is what it is. But yeah, now he's supposed to be like the friend and mentor. Like his friend and mentor is now Shane O'Mac, and they have nothing for him. From being somebody that people actually gave a shit about 3 years ago, and wow, that's so fucking long ago, it's not even funny, to being nothing now, it just is what it is. That's what WWE loves to do. Triple H creates, Vince McMahon destroys, and it's every single time. We have the Firefly Funhouse coming up soon, and then, of course, that's what we have here now. The various puppets are there. Raymond Ramblin announces the return of Bray Wyatt. Wyatt comes through the door, laughing and waving. He says, "Hello, Fireflies." He says, "It feels good to be back in the Funhouse, especially with my true friends." Looks around with the, like, that, and has that sound of, like, yeah, I trusted Bliss, and she turned out to be a backstabber. Abby says, "Good riddance. Because I couldn't stand that little bitch." Of course, they bleeped out bitch. Rabbit says, of course, Bray Wyatt's like, "If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all." Abby says, "Fuck it." And of course, they bleeped that too. Rabbit says, it's going to be so lonely here without her. And Brian grabs him as if he's going to do something, and then gives him a kiss. He says, "Didn't see that coming, did you?" Throws him away. Says, "They will always have each other. As a matter of fact, he feels good. This could be a new start for everyone in the Funhouse, a new season, new friends, and a new Wyatt. I felt reborn." We get the church revival type of music as Wyatt taps on his puppet and heads with the healing. And he starts like a TV password. He looks at Abby instead of doing it. He's like, "Be gone." He says, "He will return." He goes on and says, "The Funhouse will be big, bad, and strong." And then starts waving goodbye, and it was a waste of time. The Firefly Funhouse was fun. It was cool and everything in 2019. Then Bray Wyatt then they had the shit with Seth Rollins showing up there randomly, even though the Firefly Funhouse should have been a representation of inside the twisted mind of Bray Wyatt. But no, it ended up being a place that Seth Rollins burned down for a minute. Then it's just like they've done so much to kill this guy's character, and I really don't care about what they do with Bray Wyatt. Be interesting to see what they do with Alexa Bliss now that she's no longer, I guess, associated with the Fiend. Because quite honestly, if you're not going to have these two be together, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing. So we have a number one contendership match. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton versus Braun Strowman. Well, Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre do team up a good bit of this because it's like two normal-sized men versus the monster among men. They beat the hell out of him. They do fight some here and there. Now, the match comes to an end with Randy Orton hits the RKO on Strowman. I'm like, okay, Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley at Backlash. That's fine. Nope. Drew McIntyre comes in, hits the Claymore kick, 1, 2, 3, and we got a rematch from WrestleMania going into the pay-per-view. And I'm thinking to myself, this company has no creativity, but the pay-per-view is called WrestleMania Backlash. Why didn't you just have Adam Pearce stand on the stage and say, every single title match we had at WrestleMania will be rematched at Backlash, because that's where they're going with everything, probably. Drew McIntyre celebrates, the Hurt Business music plays, and then MVP comes out on stage, the Hurt Business graphics stuff go away. Drew turns around, and Mace and T-Bar, still dressed as if Retribution is a thing, hit him with the double team finisher. MVP watches on from the stage as Drew recovers. T-Bar and Mace standing just at the bottom of the ramp, staring back at Drew McIntyre, and the Raw goes off the air with Drew McIntyre recovering, and MVP looking on with Mace and T-Bar watching. Yeah, this is WrestleMania post-Raw. This is supposed to be the biggest Raw of the year. This is the best they could do? Wow, this was terrible. Adnan Virk is not going to last. I'm just telling you that right now. The guy is atrocious. The guy is absolutely atrocious on commentary. Honestly, Honestly, if it was just Byron Saxton and Corey Graves, I wouldn't have a problem with it because those two have worked together a lot. They have that chemistry. Can Adnan and Vert get better? Yes, anybody can get better the more you do it, but these people were comparing this guy to Mike Adamle. Remember that short time Mike Adamle was on commentary? How piss poor that was? Yeah, I just don't see anything going right with that. Now, I will say the positive of the show is that it does 100% look like The Fiend and Randy Orton are done. Good. Just good. Don't need to see that feud ever again. Don't ever need to see that done. Like, The Fiend can go do something else and see what happens there. I don't know what's going on with the Alexa Bliss thing. Charlotte Flair is the most bitter, selfish, self-centered woman in WWE. And you know, between now and SummerSlam, she's winning the Raw Women's Championship not once, if not once, but twice, probably. She'll win it, lose it, win it back at SummerSlam to have that big, huge fight feel, and she could be called a 14-time champion. Honestly, I feel bad for Ray Ripley because she deserves a long title reign. But you know they're going to screw it up because everything for Charlotte Flair, who ruins everything. Now, it looks like maybe Mason T-Bar joined the Hurt Business. I have not heard anything about that. I don't know what's going on with that. Please tell me they're going to get his fucking mask off. I don't know. The show was definitely one of the worst Raw after Manias of all time. Now, yes, it was going to be pretty bad because we go from 25,000, a little over 25,000, plus a little over 25,000 real fans, real reactions, real everything to, hey, look, we got people on the Thunderdome. Hey, Timmy, I see you in the crowd. Wave hi, Timmy. To it sucks. So the total combined for WrestleMania this year was 51,250. That's over 2 days. I don't know how they got 675 people added, but I'm pretty sure that was just the ticket people and all that stuff. But yeah, that's WrestleMania. And then we have Raw, which it sucks because that is going to suck. I don't know. I just don't know what WWE has planned. It looks like Extreme Rules is going to be the pay-per-view they do in July. Please don't bring back that shitty logo from last year. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's your Monday Night Raw review. It was a piss-poor show. This is supposed to be the biggest Raw of the year. It's always been the biggest Raw of the year. They used to do video packages and hype up this episode of Raw every single year. This is the best. This is the biggest and best show. This is when we're in Bizarro World. People who get cheered get booed. People who get booed get cheered. We have call-ups, returns, surprises, all in the whole 9 yards. I know we weren't going to have the boo cheer shit, which they could have done that still because they control the crowd noise in the Thunderdome. But they didn't do that. Why? I don't know. So yeah, Monday Night Raw, total disappointment. And I just don't even care. This company will not get better till Vince McMahon is gone. They could have did something. Yes, I'm not taking anything away from the Viking Raiders. It's great to see them back. The Raw Tag Team Division needed them to come back. But them and Charlotte are the only returns / call-ups or anything. The only surprises? I don't know. It sucks. It fucking sucks. But that is your Monday Night Raw review. Hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Like or dislike this video. Find me on Minds at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. And find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys on Wednesday, where we actually have competent wrestling, competent storytelling, and competent people booking the show. Until then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later.